The inmates are running the asylum.
Demands.
That includes stronger masking and testing protections and development of a metric to determine when individual schools should shift to remote learning. Just before the students were set to begin mobilizing for the 1 p.m. walkout, the district sent emails to families outlining its guidance on when schools would go virtual, saying the families will be alerted when 25% of teachers are absent on a given day, and if that rate is projected to last more than 3 days. This is, we are undergoing a mass insanity.
Yep.
There's just no doubt in my mind we're undergoing a mass insanity. And there's a picture of this Treadwell guy. He's going places. He's got a tie on. Not many young people in public school go to school with a tie on, so he's to be credited with that. But he's swallowed the whole brand issue here. This is an equity issue. I have no idea how, but it's an equity issue.
Do you think he wrote those words? Do you think those came from his heart and his brain, or do you think maybe his parents or somebody else fed him that?
He was handed a script, you're saying, Ken?
Well,
he looks entirely capable of perhaps having written that himself.
Okay. All right. How old was he again?
Well, he's at Highland. Does it say what year he is?
High school?
Yes. He's a senior at Highland High School.
All right. I take it back.
And he was much in favor of the kids walking out of school, and they're chanting, "Hey, hey, ho, ho, Joe Gothard has got to go." So they're turning on their own. It's a terrible mess, isn't it?
It appears to me that the country is being held hostage by those among us who are most afraid.
Mm-hmm.
And the most afraid have the loudest voices.
They sure do.
This is truly amazing. The kids are now calling the shots.
Goes back to that fear thing you've been talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know if the kids are calling the shots or if...
or the union, maybe?
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I hate to go after them. There's some Garage Logic teachers, of course.
And students.
I got a fighting chance to think Treadwell's not a GLer. There's just a fighting
sturdy limb you're on there.
I'm on a pretty good limb there.
Sounds like a very afraid wokester.
He's very woke, very handsome young man, and as I say, he wears a tie, which I don't know what to think of that. He looks like Malcolm X, to tell you the truth. And he even has short hair.
He's got a bow tie on?
No, it's a regular tie.
Oh.
Regular tie. I had to wear a tie every day in school.
Did you tie it yourself?
I did.
Good.
Leah Van Dassor, the union president, countered with a district-wide message of her own. She said the plan did not address whether students and staff would have adequate masks and testing materials, plus what a day might look like for students who show up to school that has shifted to distance learning. Well, we learned from an earlier paragraph that they'll be fed. State law specifies that if a school district moves to online learning, an in-person option and meals still must be offered.
I wonder...
What the hell is going on?
That doesn't make any sense whatsoever, because isn't the entire intention of distance learning to keep all the kids away from each other?
Well, in the case of distance learning, where is the teacher? Is the teacher at home or is the teacher in the classroom?
I don't know. I don't think anybody knows anything.
Because I think if you were given the option, if you're at distance learning, you're given the option to show up. If you, in fact, do show up, you would be getting a degree of a better education than the kids at home, right?
Yeah, but check this out.
All right.
You mean to tell me Treadwell, the young man spearheading these walkouts, said that if the demands aren't met, the walkouts will continue. Well, wait a minute. Hold up. Wait a minute. Something ain't right. You mean you'd go to school for purposes of organizing everyone there to walk out of school?
Yes.
Well, where is your learning supposed to be?
Yeah, where's that fit
Joe,
in?
that doesn't matter.
There won't be any learning until we're at home. Which, this is the opposite from what I've been hearing from kids of school age that hate distance learning, hate it. And
Well, it doesn't work, Kenny. That's why they hate it.
And that's what they say.
I was going through the Groinies file today. the problem with the groiny awards, for example, is that we could do a groiny. We could kick somebody in the groin every day.
We
and,
sure
and
could.
by the way, I think Regina Chu should be the first recipient of the year 2022.
That deserves this.
But I was looking through the groinies, and you'll remember many of them. Philippe Cunningham, for example, he got a groiny this year. We don't want to hear him.
You don't want to hear from him. Okay.
The Senator Sanders, Bernie Sanders, got a groiny for wearing mittens to the inaugural, and we learned that a Berkeley professor named Ingrid Sayer-Ochi said Sanders is no white supremacist insurrectionist, but he manifests privilege, white privilege, male privilege, and class privilege in ways that my students could see and feel. I don't know why he was pictured wearing his mittens. John Kerry took a private jet to Iceland for environmental award, calling it the only choice for somebody like me. You'll recall that.
Oh, yeah.
He got a groiny for that. And the kid that pretended that University of Minnesota police were misbehaving with him when it turns out he's nothing but a liar.
To the point where he asked them for a ride home
Asked him
in
for
the
a
dash
ride
cam
home.
video.
That was in February.
That was that long ago already? Wow.
And then you have, God help me, where did I put it? Oh, yeah. A St. Paul school member, if I had to award the groiny of the year, it goes to Chantel Allen, who I mentioned earlier.
Yeah, that's the only thing I discovered about her. I don't remember why we have discussed her in the past.
Chantel Allen posted a video on March 31st of an incident on her Facebook page saying she was discriminated against because she is black. Allen was dining at Benihana, a Japanese hibachi grill restaurant, with a group of women for her birthday. She said she and others at her table said they felt the table wasn't clean, so they asked the manager to wipe it down. The manager offered to move the party to a different table. The group refused to move, and several pulled out cell phones to record the interaction. Allen called on her social media following to come to the restaurant to support her. After members of the group shouted at the manager as she attempted to answer their questions, they were eventually asked to leave the restaurant. The group refused, calling it a sit-in, and said they were being discriminated against. She picked up this white supremacy, this white lady silencing, and went silent and didn't even want to respond to us now, Allen said, about their Asian server. Allen threatened to do to Benihana what she did to Joe's Crab Shack in 2016, in which she said she was offended.
Hana.
What did I say?
Benihana.
Ha.
Oh, Benihana. In which she was offended by a picture of an 1885 hanging of a black man in Texas. She complained to the NAACP, and the restaurant apologized and removed the photo. When the group refused to leave Benihana, the manager told them that their tab had been taken care of and then called the police. And the police found no examples of discrimination or racism. And this moron is a current member of the St. Paul School Board.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's who you got on your St. Paul School Board. Chantel Allen said 2 weeks of virtual learning could prevent more people from getting infected as the number of coronavirus cases in the community have soared. Teachers and students are calling for online learning, she said, and we have to listen to those folks. Her motion failed with only newly elected board members Uriah Ward and Hala Henderson joining her. Okay. Gothard resisted the move, calling virtual learning a substandard method of learning. I am very much against this motion. I don't think it's right thing for our community. So it was Chantel Allen, the 2021 Groiny Award winner on Garage Logic, who was doing the hard campaigning on the school board to go to remote learning. Give her another kick.
One more?
That deserves this.
Too bad the lady at the restaurant didn't turn it around on her and accuse her of an Asian hate crime.
Yeah. It's
They coulda-
phony.
Yeah.
This is who you got on your school board, folks, because the closer you get to the country's tallest buildings, we have surrendered
You know, and
bureaucracy to the inept.
when you were going through that, think of how many other times she's raised a stink that have gone unnoticed or undocumented.
Right, where they just acquiesce immediately.
Because she does this every single time she goes out.
So I can tell you in all good conscience, I have no idea what the schools are going to do. Apparently, according to the kid at Highland, if we don't meet our demands, we're just going to continue to walk out.
But if his demands aren't met
There are 9 demands.
and he walks out, isn't he then truant from school?
I don't think there is such a thing anymore as long as the kids are running the show. The inmates are running the asylum. And so this kid is saying, you better meet our 9 demands or we're not going to participate in any kind of learning. Well, okay.
Demands.
I'm running through the list of demands I would have had as a senior in high school.
Mandatory smoke break.
Study hall needs to be the first 2 hours every day, and you can't be late for. You don't have to show up on time. Something about pizza in the lunchroom. You're right. A smoke break.
Well, Jerome Treadwell said student leaders want 2 weeks of distance learning, plus action on 9 demands that include stronger masking and testing protections and development of a metric to determine when individual schools should shift to remote learning. The whole educational process is disintegrating, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
It really is, which is a shame. I'm one who's always said a kid from a sound family can get one hell of an education at a public school. But that opportunity is dwindling.
Mine, in fact, did. Graduating as recently as, what was that, 2018, I think.
Well, I know many kids who have.
But this is one kid with one voice. Who decided that he gets to speak on behalf of the entire student body?
I think that if I just had to guess from his comments and from his photograph, I think he commands a presence in the school.
Really? Mm-hmm. Well, the other kids are just going along with it, right? Because
Well, they don't want to go to school. They're not going to accomplish anything at home.
Wow.
Don't tell me we can learn at home. Don't tell me we have enough tests. We don't have enough tests. We don't have enough masks. We don't have a metric.
Increase in masking. Okay, you want everyone in a hazmat suit there, son? What are you shooting for here?
The psychological damage that masking has done. When do you suppose we're going to start seeing the results of that?
It's already happening, Ken.
Yeah. Not being able to read faces.
Yep.
Now, I went by Highland Park High School today, and it was packed with cars. So I imagine...
Well, obviously the demands haven't been met yet.
Well, but I wonder if they're walking out again today. Serious
Too cold.
question.
It's too cold. Can't walk
That's
out
true.
today.
They might not walk out today. Good God in heaven. I've
You
never
weren't made
seen-
for these times.
I've never seen anything like this.
I've never seen people so willing to give in.
You know, where did I hear it today? Where did I hear it? On another station. I'm going to paraphrase. Someone was talking to an educator who has a new idea that learning should be more flexible. You know, we used to go to school and sit in a desk in rows and learn what we had. And I was talking to myself in the car. I said, hey, moron, that worked.
Yeah.
What you're proposing, how do you know that's better? And apparently, you shouldn't have to sit at a desk in a row. You should be more free to what? I have no idea. Mingle, walk around.
Well, a lot of
consult.
them have converted to tables.
Well,
a
whatever.
table with 6 kids at it or whatever.
But how did the country get this far?
Because we continue to keep allowing it to happen. You know, every kid that raises a stink about something in the schools, they just keep pushing it further and further because they keep getting their way, because there are no consequences. It's the same thing in society, where there are no consequences for actions anymore.
And what is
plus
a
these
teacher-
kids? These kids have been so enabled by the fear of the bureaucracy to discipline them. Oh, we better let these kids talk. That would be systemic racism.
They need
on
to
our
be
part.
heard.
If we didn't, they need to be heard and share their feelings. Whatever, you know. When we all went to school, it basically worked. This isn't working.
By the way, I tried to find an update. The Star Tribune online article has shut off the comments section for this particular story.
Oh, they're so gutless there. They don't.
And Such, what is the teacher that got into teaching because they just want to teach and help develop young minds and do good? What are those teachers to do? I'm thinking of our gal Lee, who taught out in the Milwaukee, or maybe still does in the Milwaukee area, Matthew's daughter. And we know a lot of teachers that got into it for all the right reasons. How do they possibly push back against this and the unions and these students that are doing this?
I predict that many of them would find different careers. They're going to realize.
Well, that's too bad, because
it really is. It really
we need them.
Yeah, but they can't overcome this. You have Chantil Allen on the school board. Now, that wouldn't have happened years ago either. You would have had a responsible citizen on the school board. Instead, you've got this hypocrite who's inventing discriminatory activities at a restaurant for purposes of engaging her social media followers. That's who you want on your school board? This is an incredible breakdown of the whole. Well, it's the failed academy. It's an incredible breakdown of the failed academy, which it becomes increasingly failing because of this. Some St. Paul schools could move online soon, but board rejects full shift to remote instruction. So if 25% of the staff are out, the school is still open, the bus is still run, and the food's still available.
Is Omicron killing kids?
No.
No, sure isn't, Ken.
No.
And do the kids and the teachers and the unions, do they know what the fraud Fauci has been saying, that eventually we're all going to get this? Do they know that?
Well, again, I don't think he's a fraud. I think he's conflicted.
Yeah, that's your point of view. Do they know that masking is completely and getting the stab and getting the updated stab still doesn't prevent you from getting it?
And last week,
Do
Ken,
they know that?
I'll add to your point. Last week, was it the CDC director that said that the vaccine no longer prevents the transmission of the virus?
Do they know that, Chris?
No, I don't think so, Ken.
Yeah, didn't think so. Yeah.
I think what you get when you have these student activists, I think they get full of themselves with their newfound power. They're discovering that they have some control over this.
Yeah.
There is nobody pushing back against them.
Yeah.
So now they call themselves the Teenage Activist Group, and they're running the show.
And not to mention, a lot of them are, even though I don't consider them very bright, but a lot of them are smart enough to realize that this lifestyle is a future career.
Chris, you just went where I was going to go. I was going to ask our guy Joe, this young senior with the tie,
Yep.
where is he going to be in 5 years?
Anywhere he wants to be in the race industry. Anywhere he wants to be. He's creating the right track for himself.
He certainly is.
He's not creating a track for himself to become a physicist or a doctor or an auto mechanic, but he's creating a role for himself to be terribly important in the public class.
So, effectively,
This is an equity issue, Kenny. This is an equity issue.
You have to grant it to him. He's pretty smart. I knew a guy in my class that, I think in as early as 9th grade, knew that he wanted to be an Air Force pilot. And everything he did from that point forward led to that, and that's what he ended up doing. Mm-hmm. A pretty smart guy. Mm-hmm. He knew ahead of time. Mm-hmm. Just as smart as this kid.